Interesting topic here. Can money really buy happiness? And how much does it take? And what is happiness? With stubborn inflation, tariffs, uncertainty, a volatile stock market, many people believe more money would make them more happy.
Our buddy Michael Masserant, financial instructor from the Retirement Education Foundation, here to share more about how money and happiness is connected. And Michael, I was just telling you, just in casual conversation, when you ask people, can money buy happiness, the only people that say no are rich people. But there are.
Because they know they have money, and they're not. It's not the secret to happiness.
Right,
Life is still full of challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely not a silver bullet to solve all the world's problems, but it does make some of those, daily challenges go away. For a lot of people, actually about 7 out of 10 people, Americans right now, are reporting that their financial stress is either at or near all-time highs for them.
7 out of 10.
Yes,
that's a lot.
It's a lot of people.
And why is that, Michael?
There's inflation, there's economic uncertainty, there's been a lot of political, economic headlines recently, and it just it puts people on edge. But one thing that we find a lot from the classes that we teach are that really the people who don't know where they're at, they tend to have the most stress because they've buried their heads in the sand and they just assume that things aren't good, and sometimes they're not as bad as they really think they are, but because they don't know where they're at financially, it causes a lot of anxiety and stress.
Well, yeah, and it's that fear of the unknown. That's
Absolutely.
the problem. When you don't know stuff, that's what triggers all this fear. And so, like you say, if you're paying attention, also, and all this chatter on the news and elsewhere, that can make you real nervous until you look at your actual account and see, okay, I'm okay right now.
Exactly.
I'm going to be all right.
But the first step to getting to that point of realizing, oh wait, I'm okay, is kind of taking stock of your financial health. And there was a study done in 2010 by Princeton, and in that study they sort of determined the peak earnings to be happy was somewhere around $75,000 for a household, meaning past $75,000 people were still happier the more they earn, but $75,000 was the most bang for your buck happiness-wise, if you will. But that was in 2010. So in today's day and age, it's closer to about $100,000 per household to reach that sort of happiness sweet spot. And that's what's necessary to make sure you have your bills paid, you have an emergency fund stocked up. Now you can start to think about saving for retirement. But unless people realize, where am I at here, it's hard to think about where all their dollars are going to make sure they're all going to the right places.
And that's not for anything extra, right? That's for the same standard of living as you were kind of having before.
Exactly.
Right?
That $100,000 today is actually it's about on pace with what $75,000 purchased about back in 2010. A little less actually.
That's not a long time ago either. That's, that's a big number.
We've had a lot of inflation. Obviously, we all remember 2021, 2022 high inflation spikes, and even though inflation's coming down a little bit, people think, well, that means prices will return back to normal. Prices are not going back down. Prices are not going back to pre-COVID levels. Falling inflation does not mean falling prices. Falling inflation means that the prices are rising at a slower rate. And so people need to realize, okay, prices are not going back to pre-COVID levels. I've got to readjust my thinking here and get my house in order financially speaking to make sure that I'm saving properly, I'm not piling up debt, and I can start planning for my future.
And that's really the key. Yeah. Sorry, Michael, to interrupt you, but that's really the key to having control over your finances versus feeling like it's controlling you.
Exactly,
right?
And that's what a lot of people have, this vision of a net worth in their head, but really for a lot of people it's having stability and making progress. That's what makes people feel good, is I'm in a stable place and I'm making progress. It isn't necessarily this view or this image of $1 million or $2 or $5 million net worth. It's am I in a stable place? Am I making progress? That's what makes them feel better.
I gotta think that paying off credit card debt, because that's got to be a source of a lot of anxiety for people. So that's got to be one of the first steps. Is there a way to do that on this path to financial happiness that's easier than just writing that check every month?
Credit card debt is one of the largest pain points for a lot of people.
Isn't it over $1 trillion collectively?
We're over $1 trillion collectively. That's trillion with a T. It's unbelievable. And so for a lot of people, those credit card debts, and people are paying 18, 20, 22, 26% interest rates on these credit card debts. It's unbelievable. So getting that knocked out as quickly as possible, doing anything possible, no vacations, no car upgrades, getting the credit cards knocked out before anything else will get you out of debt the fastest.
Can't you go to, aren't there resources of people who can sort of combine all that debt and help you pay it off in a different way?
Yeah, there are debt consolidators and debt coaches, and what that can help to do is if you've got a lot of debt in a lot of different places, to kind of get your arms around everything, that consolidate the debt. Now, there are some companies that say, well, we'll help you settle for pennies on the dollar. We're pretty skeptical of companies like that.
Doesn't that destroy your credit too?
Yeah, it can really hurt your credit, and we're pretty skeptical of companies.
Okay.
If it sounds too good to be true, there's probably a catch somewhere, but there are debt consolidators that can help make the process a little easier for you.
Great stuff. You coming back next hour?
Yep, talking about how to increase your income, which is one of the best ways to dig yourself out of debt if that's a problem.
Oh, that sounds good.
If you make more, don't spend more, right?
Right. Not what you make, it's what you spend.
Right.
Is that true,
Yes,
Michael?
it's massively true.
Okay.
It really is.
refedu.org, Retirement Education Foundation, refedu.org.